All right, let's talk about some heat illness stuff. It's the start of the summer. We just had our last class that was for our area, enjoying 70 degrees, fog half the days to, in about 2 days, ending up with mid to upper 90s on the range. Was a big change. Saw it in the faces and in the movement of a lot of the students and stuff. So we're going to talk about heat illness. My thought on this is I'm going to talk about it from a first aid kind of level, getting into a little bit of EMT paramedic stuff, but really common sense rules the day on all this. Basically, I got some of the things out here. A lot of what you may hear is out of this book, the PHTLS 8th edition, the military edition of it, the one they use for TCCC. So why the heat illness stuff? So whether you're just going for a hike this summer, whether you're organizing other people, whether you're outdoors, whether you're training on the range, especially for those that may be instructors in charge of groups doing stuff, let's look at it. Heat illness stuff should be a very simple thing to catch and mitigate out there on your own trip, on your own range. We work against ourselves though a lot. I've watched a lot of people just think, hey, hydration, hydration, hydration. And while that's great, there are some downsides of that, and we'll talk about this. Guys on the range, no matter what we do, we're always working against ourselves. Whether it's wearing a bunch of this stuff, plus some cool guy rag, plus some helmet, we're really trapping that heat in. And so that heat illness stuff can get us pretty quickly, and the progression can really quick. We've seen often someone puts up a, hey, here's my urine chart, and we'll probably even just kind of superimpose one of those over myself here in a second. But those things are great. Hey, I want to be peeing clear as much as possible, and the darker it gets, the more I know I'm dehydrated. The problem with that stuff, it's always an afterthought. It's, oh, hey, look, I already know what I know. I feel like crap, and my pee is dark. So those aren't always the best things. We obviously shoot ourselves in the foot from too much of this the night before. Maybe a couple of these, if you're white trash enough. And not enough this in the days leading up to it. On the range, guys seem to be pretty good about drinking fluids. But fluids alone don't do it. I saw a great study the other day done on a bunch of wildland firefighters showing that, hey, hydration is good and we can keep people hydrated, but that's only solving half the problem. The other part's that actual body temperature part. So let's talk real quick about what each of those things, when we talk about heat exhaustion going into heat stroke, what each of those signs and symptoms are real quick, and then how to actually mitigate it. So when we look at heat emergencies, we don't really start at heat stroke. We normally start at a lower level, heat exhaustion, and progress to that heat stroke. General rule: if we're concerned about ourselves or someone else enough that we don't think we can mitigate the problem, we go ahead and call 911, right? So now that that's out of the way, let's talk about it. Heat exhaustion. We start doing our activities, we may be bundled up too much, we start having a lot of heavy sweating, we start getting thirsty, heck, maybe we get some minor muscle twitching, kind of progressing on into cramping. As we go on, our skins get pale, they get cool, they get moist, we start developing that headache, may get a little nauseous, we're probably going to start getting weak. So those folks are in that heat exhaustion point. Now, real easy to deal with, right? Out on the trail, out on the range, out on the sporting field, we just get them out of that environment. So when you're looking at places that you're going, always have that in the back of my head. Where was the last place I traveled through that provided some sort of shade? Where funneled wind really well so I can get breeze blowing across them? Or where on this range, or do I need to bring something to provide that for my participants? Get the gear off of them. Plan enough breaks throughout your day where people can actually strip down. Remember, hydration is just a part of it. We actually need to be getting people out of gear, hats off, even for those of you on the range. Have you ever noticed that even when you take your ears off, you just feel so much cooler? Get clothes off, let them air out a little bit before they put all that protective gear back on to get back out there or do whatever they're doing. If we're seeing those signs and symptoms, if they're alert enough, give them cool water to sip. Don't give them ice water. Give them whatever fluid, just not absolute ice water. Small little sips. Use kind of a fanning technique. Put wet stuff on them, pull it off, kind of fan them off. If they seem getting pretty out of it, you can use those cold packs or that ice in the cooler, pack it in their groins or armpits. Those people usually, if we can get them hydrated, if we can get them cooled down, they can even return to whatever we're actually doing. So catch it early and treat them. Where we start really running into a problem, where we go, hey, you're done, you're out for the day. In fact, we're going to get you somewhere to get some care, is when we turn from that heat exhaustion into heat stroke. When I start to think about where that truly happens, I always think my body no longer can deal with cooling myself. So we get really hot skin temperatures, that sweating starts to go away. So if you see someone kind of beet red, out in the heat and they're just not sweating at all, that's because they got no fluid left to get rid of and cool themselves. They could get confused, there could be some sort of seizure, they could go completely unconscious. So those folks, they need a lot of help, right? So start calling for help, start thinking about an extrication plan if you're out there in the middle of nowhere, assess all their ABCs, begin really aggressive cooling measures. Ice pack, dump stuff on them. They're probably not going to be able to drink reliably. We can try and give them something by mouth if they're able to answer you appropriately, if you trust them not to just choke on it, throw it up, do some sort of thing that's just going to make the problem worse. Those of you obviously that have IV stuff and is trained to do so in your kit, you can go ahead and start those. And then there's always the other more, what is that guy's name, Guile Grist versions of, hey, just cut the thing off the end of the camel pack and up the other end and kind of rehydrate them that way. But get them out of that environment, get them moving towards help, get help coming towards them, and try and rehydrate them or cool them as fast as humanly possible, because these are the people that are in trouble. So really, if you're in charge of a group or you're an instructor, what my big thing is, and now this comes from that study that I was just reading about too, of the wildland firefighters, really good on staying hydrated, having water breaks because of that environment, not good on getting the helmets off, getting their Nomex, all their protective equipment off. So if you're running a range, or if you're running a sporting event, or if you're running just even a family event out there, make sure you schedule those breaks where it's not just hydration, but it's also getting the clothes off. The other part of that is the overhydration. The folks that are going to end up drinking water while sweating and sweating. And what they're really doing is, while they're staying hydrated, they're depleting all their electrolytes. So make sure you balance that stuff. Do the pour out half the Gatorade or mix it with some other bottles of water, so you're getting it kind of diluted, so you're still getting those other electrolytes, salts. Make sure there's snacks out there. For those real hot days, for healthy folks, salt's a good thing. So the jerkies, the trail mix, any of that stuff that has it in there. So enjoy your summer out there, enjoy training.